Bumble the bee was a very curious bee. He loved exploring and meeting new people. He had a kind heart and had one dream since he was a kid. He had a dream to find love, but was very busy with his job pollinating the flowers. One day he was on the job, and in the corner of his eye, he noticed the most beautiful flower he's ever seen. When he got home that night, he realized he fell in love and wanted to retire from work to spend the rest of his life with the flower. That next morning, Bumble went to see the queen bee to tell her his plan to retire. The queen told him that was impossible, and bees cannot love a flower, and forbid him to see the flower. Bumble couldn't stand to live without the flower, so he packed a bag and left the bee kingdom. When the queen found out about him running away, she herself and a group of bees went to search for him. They flew for hours, and finally the queen found him. He was with the flower. She's never seen a bee as happy as him. That night, the queen made a new law, allowing bees to love whoever they fall in love with. Bumble was now able to spend forever with the flower of his dreams.
There was once a village of walking, talking bombs. And despite their appearance, they were as friendly as you or me. Except Bombi, who had what we called a short fuse. Heads up, Bombi! You don't mind if I have one, right? Haha, tag, you're it. But one day, no one wanted to play with Bombi anymore. Instead of feeling angry, Bombi tried to be calm. I'm sorry. The bombs were not expecting that. The other bombs gave him another chance. And they all played together all day. Bombi learned that there's no use to get upset over small things. And tag is more fun without a boom.
There once was a cheetah named Sophia. She would dream of flying and being cool, like the birds. She hated seeing all of the other birds in the forest having fun while flying. She wanted to join them, but she had no wings or feathers, and she couldn't fly. But one day she realized she'd never know if she couldn't fly if she didn't try. So she climbed up a large tree and jumped off its branches and screamed, "It's time to fly!" But she soon yelled, "Ouch!" after she fell. She was upset, but not for long. She saw a poster for a flying school and decided to join. Lesson 1 was to flap your wings quickly, so she flapped her arms. Lesson 2 was to lean forward and stay still, so she leaned over, but she fell. Lesson 3 was to fly off a tree, so she flapped her arms and leaned forward and screamed, "It's time to fly!" But she lost her balance and she fell off the tree. She was about to cry, but she heard someone screaming, "Help!" There was a baby bird hanging off a tree. All the other birds flew to help, but they were too slow. Sophia screamed, "It's time to run!" With her speed, she was able to catch the baby bird in time, and this made her realize she had her own amazing characteristics. She doesn't have to change to be cool, since being herself is just as cool.
Joey had a jar, and Joey loved his jar. He would put just about anything in it. In the car, Joey found a coin, and when he got home, he put it in his jar. At school, Joey found a paperclip, and he put that in his jar too. Outside, Joey found a grasshopper, but Mom wouldn't let Joey put that in his jar. In the couch cushions, Joey found an old marble, and he even added that to his jar. But one day, the jar broke, and that made Joey very sad. Where would he put everything? Surely he did not have enough money to buy a new one. So Joey thought very hard, until he had an idea. It was the perfect day for a lemonade stand. Joey worked very hard. He made lots of lemonade. Joey's dad helped him set up outside his house. It was hot and sunny, and so Joey sold lots of lemonade. When it started to get dark, Joey decided to go inside and count his money. $36. This was definitely enough to buy a new jar. Joey was so happy. The next day, Joey went to the store. He looked and looked until he found it, the perfect jar. When Joey got home, he filled the jar with all the things he had in his old one and even had a few new things to add to it. Joey's dad told him he was so proud of how hard he worked to get the new jar. Joey was proud too. He learned that if he really wanted something, he had to work hard for it.
Chris the koala wants to hang out with his friends, but they are always so busy. Chris asks to see them every day, but it's always the same answer. This makes Chris feel sad. He has nothing to do and nobody to hang out with. He decides that he should find a hobby so that his friends will have to hang out with him. That must work. How could it not? The only issue is that Chris has a record for being clumsy since koalas don't have much energy. This won't stop Chris though. He is determined. First, Chris will try to join Barney the bear at basketball practice. Chris tries to dribble the ball, but his arms are too short and the basketball hoop is far too high for him to reach. He stood under it preparing to shoot, but ended up getting hit in the head with the ball. Barney the bear is much taller than him, so maybe he should join one of his friends who is closer in size. Next, Chris joins Carly the cheetah at the track. Carly loves to run and is the fastest in her class. Chris was excited to run with her and wanted to race. As they took off, Chris was quickly left in the dust as Carly moved at the speed of light. He could barely even see her. It took Chris 10 times longer to run around the track than it took Carly the cheetah. Maybe he needed to find a friend who moved at a slower pace. Then Chris decided to join Darla the dog in her painting class. Chris was running out of options for a hobby, so he would have to try his absolute hardest. Darla told Chris to mix her a blue shade of paint, and so he did just that. At least he thought he did. Until he painted the paintbrush to her paper and ended up turning it a dark shade of brown. Chris was instructed to leave the painting class and was defeated. He wasn't good at anything. Finally, he returns home to his forest and gets ready to take a nap because that was a lot of work for a koala. He climbs his tree hanging upside down and goes to rest. He dreams of being able to hang out with his friends, and it's like he can actually hear them talking. He suddenly is startled when he realizes that they are actually talking and are right below him. They are staring at him with shocked faces, questioning how he is able to climb so well and sleep upside down like that. Chris the koala is so overwhelmed and excited that he finally has a skill like everyone else. He was so focused on his friend's hobby that he forgot he is a koala and he has his own special skills as well.
It was a clear Christmas morning in the universe, and all the planets were opening their presents around the sun. "I got 3 moons," said Saturn. "I got 2, said Jupiter. Mars looked down into his gift bag to see it was empty. With a lump in his throat, he said, "I got none." I don't understand. Was I bad this year? Saturn with a smile was looking at the new moons he got when he heard Mars upset. Mars would never be bad. Why didn't he get any moons, he thought. Are you okay, Mars? Said Saturn. Not really, Saturn. I didn't get any moons for Christmas this year. I don't know what I did wrong, said Mars. Saturn knew he should give Mars one of his 3 moons. It made him sad to see his buddy left out. Here, Mars, you can have one of mine, said Saturn to Mars with a big smile on his face. Mars, shocked at the nice gesture, said with a smile, Thank you, Saturn. That is so nice of you. Mars turned his frown upside down, spun around, and joined in with the other planets, singing Christmas carols around the sun. Saturn felt happy and proud that he could help out his buddy this Christmas, realizing that sharing what you have with others can make both of you feel happy. With Mars by his side and a smile on his face, Saturn spun around to join the crowd singing Jingle Bells.
Once upon a time, in a magical forest, there lived Peter the Peacock. Peter was a sad peacock. Peter always tried to fly like the eagle, sing like the canary, and be as strong and fast as the ostrich. Peter tried and tried and tried, but Peter always failed. One day, Peter decided to ask the wise owl for answers. The wise owl listened to Peter's worries and smiled. "Oh, Peter, you're very special indeed. You may not fly like the eagle, sing like the canary, or be as strong and fast as the ostrich, but you have the prettiest feathers of them all," the wise owl said. Surprised and excited, Peter spread his feathers and walked. All the animals stopped to look, amazed by the pretty feathers. From that day forward, Peter embraced his true talent and spread his feathers. Peter realized that everyone has their unique talents. Peter was no longer sad and embraced his feathers. All of the others were inspired by Peter and embraced their unique talents.
Snooky was only a baby when he first heard jazz. He remembers rapidly going to his dad. "Daddy, Daddy, can I join the jazz band?" he asked, all excited. His dad looked at him and replied, "You can't be a musician, Snooky. Humans have hands, you don't." Snooky became really sad. Then his mom interrupted them. "Don't listen to your dad, sweetie. You will become the greatest musician in all the world," she said. Snooky is big now, and after saying goodbye to his mom and dad, he is leaving for the streets of New Orleans. He saw multiple bands that day, but every human was scared of him, and they kept throwing their instruments at him. Snooky was now desperate, and he didn't think his dream could happen anymore. Maybe he really couldn't be a musician after all. He was now going back home, his head down and his heart broken. Snooky was so sad that he wasn't really looking where he was going, and he got lost. He thought he saw a shape next to a tree and approached. While he was doing so, a big shadow covered the sun, and he got so scared that he started shaking his tail, making a sound. "Are you okay? I didn't mean to scare you." Croco the alligator asked. He was holding a little ukulele. Scared? How did you know I was scared? Snooky replied, now curious. Well, your tail. It made a sound. The snake looked at his tail as he discovered he had a rattle. He shook it again and Croco started to play the ukulele next to him. Later on, the snake and the alligator became the first of the jazz bands with every animal any wood could ever think of.